Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Notre Dame fans. You might be watching us live. You might be watching a recording. You might be listening to this as a podcast. Whatever the case may be, we really appreciate you for making Blue and Gold a part of your day. I'm Mike Singer. I cover Notre Dame recruiting and run our Blue and Gold YouTube operation. And with me is our trusty Notre Dame beat reporters, Tyler Horka and Jack Soble, for this show. First, we'll ask you to hit the thumbs up on this video if you're watching on YouTube and subscribe to the Blue and Gold YouTube channel for more content. And if you're listening to this as a podcast, thank you as well. Just ask that you would leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcast. For this show, we take 6 topics and discuss each of them for 6 minutes. Sometimes Jack likes to go beyond 6 minutes, but we penalize him for that. The first thing here is it's actually a recruiting topic. The NFL legacy trend continuing at Notre Dame. I mean, and then a couple of them being Notre Dame legacies with Bryce Young and James Flanagan. But I mean, just over the weekend, Notre Dame getting Caden Finley, son of Jermichael Finley, and of course Larry Fitzgerald's son, Devin Fitzgerald. So, Tyler, what does this say to you? This Notre Dame NFL legacy trend?
Yeah, it's been a thing for a minute now, and it kind of coincides with the Marcus Freeman era. I get it. There were sons of NFL players who played for Notre Dame in the Brian Kelly era as well, but it really seems to have taken shape during the Marcus Freeman era. I mean, I look at just last season when Jordan Clark, obviously the son of Ryan Clark, former Pittsburgh Steelers defensive back, like this isn't obviously decided to play at Notre Dame. This isn't just 17, 8-year-old kids saying, like, hearing it from their father saying, yeah, go to Notre Dame. They're making that decision on their own. Obviously, parents have a little bit of influence, but these kids have to make their own decisions. And two, you've got like 22, 23-year-old grad students who are also making the same decision. Obviously, Clark played at Arizona State there for a while. And he's like, where do I want to finish my college career? Notre Dame. So it is very much a thing. And then I think it's pretty cool if you look at it more specifically. Like, let's look at 2026. And I put this on social media the other day. The sons of Jerome Bettis, Plaxico Burress, Jermichael Finley, and Larry Fitzgerald are all going to be in the same position group, not just on the same team, not just the same Notre Dame Fighting Irish roster, but they're all going to be Notre Dame wide receivers. One, that's a position that Notre Dame's had to be better at in recent seasons, and they're making that trek up the mountain, like toward the top of the mountaintop. And two, like, that's just cool. I mean, it's more than coincidental. I think it's definitely a trend, and it's happening at Notre Dame, and it's coinciding with a lot of team success at Notre Dame as well.
Yeah, first of all, like Mike mentioned the Notre Dame legacies on the list and forgot about Jerome Bettis Jr. So let's just make sure we get that out there. Jerome Bettis Jr., of course, son of the bus. But yeah, I want to invoke kind of what Marcus Freeman said when this topic first became. I don't know about first came up, but first came up since I've been on the beat back on signing day 2023. So for the class of 2024, when they signed Ken Urlacher, who of course is no longer here, and Bryce Young. Freeman basically said that NFL players understand better than most that football ends at some point. So they want their sons to be set up for life after football. And obviously Notre Dame, that's a big part. I mean, that's a huge part of their recruiting pitch is the 4 for 40 aspect. So there's that aspect. And then the other part that, we talked to the players about this, like the Jordan Clarks and RJ Obens and Kennedy Urlachers and Bryce Youngs when they first enrolled that winter. And something that a couple of them, I think it was Jordan Clark, one of the ones who said was like, yeah, our dads who played the NFL can see through a lot of like the recruiting bullshit that they see from a lot of schools. And I think it's an indicator that Notre Dame's coaching staff knows what they're talking about. Like they're impressed with the whiteboard work and such, and B, like they're real. It speaks to the realness of their recruiting pitch, and like those are the big two things I remember from when this first came up. But obviously it's cool. I think Kyle Kelly made a good point, and I'll let you comment on this in a second, Tyler. Kyle Kelly made the good point on our board, and I think in his 5 thoughts column after Finley or Fitzgerald committed that, like, the exposure of NFL NFL players' sons committing to Notre Dame, beyond just the football aspect, is huge, because like Adam Schefter is tweeting about a Notre Dame football commitment 2 days in a row. Like, I hate that matters, because we can have a whole separate conversation about Adam Schefter's business practices, but it does matter.
No, like he moves the needle in sports media, whether you like it or not. And like, yeah, that's fine. But this is a guy who now I'm starting to sound like Chris Collinsworth, but this is a guy who, like, literally everything he tweets turns into gold. Like, I don't know, gold, but like, if you think that numbers on social media are currency, that guy is like stratosphere. And over the 4th of July weekend, he was like, what would be good for my business model on social media here? I'm going to tweet about Notre Dame recruiting. And guess what? It was, because that tweet popped off and he knew exactly what he was doing. But to the larger point, Jack, I think it circles back around to what you were saying at the beginning. These Notre Dame kids and their fathers know what they're doing in terms of making sure they enroll. And you mentioned Kennedy Urlacher. I remember in January, in the days between the Orange Bowl and the national championship game, he was on radio in Chicago, and they were asking him about Marcus Freeman. He had all of the best things in the world to say. He sounded so over the moon that his son was a Notre Dame football player. And look, he made a decision, Kennedy did, that's probably in his best interest if he wants to play in a defensive capacity. Now, I'm not sure if he's going to get there at USC, but he probably definitely was not going to get there at Notre Dame. But when he was here, his father was like, yeah, that's the place for him, because there's really nothing wrong with it. Like, you talk about checking all the boxes. Notre Dame does that for kids that age. Last thing I want to say with Mark with glasses was like, what does this say about all these legacies committing to Notre Dame that were really old? And I always find a way to bring it back to my home state, Jack, but this is relevant info. I remember watching Jermichael Finley in college, dude. Like, we witnessed his entire college career, his entire NFL career, whatever he's done since retiring for the NFL, because it's been a minute now. And now his son is committing to Notre Dame to play college football. That's crazy. We are getting old.
Cue Jack Soble talking about the Bears and Jermichael Finley. Go ahead, Jack. I know you want to.
I was going to say, I remember Jermichael Finley plenty in the NFL, and he killed us. So if his son is anywhere near as good at football in general as Jermichael Finley was against the Bears, I think Notre Dame is going to be just fine.
I want to mention real quick, got the Blue and Gold Illustrated 2025 football preview behind me here. Blue Gold Online. Don't go to our website, blueandgold.com. That's for our On3 website. bluegoldonline.com. Pick that up. Okay.
Go to blueandgold.com as well. Do both.
Definitely do both. Second topic, very unfortunate news to come out over the weekend. Charles Jagusah's injury. All right, so we're going to spend a couple 12 minutes on this, right? We'll talk about the injury and then what's next following the injury, but I'll pause the timer so I can let you guys talk about this at length and as much as you want here. But like the discourse on this, the two extremes, one side being like, oh, kids are just going to be kids, and then let's bring out the pitchforks. So they're both wrong, in my opinion. It's like I mean, dude, you're the Notre Dame, like arguably the best Notre Dame offensive lineman. You're getting paid a lot of money. What are you doing on UTVs? And if there were other Notre Dame players doing that, like it wasn't just Jagusah in Wyoming, I'm asking them the same questions. Like these things, like these accidents happen on UTVs. They just do. They happen a lot more, than other activities that kids could be doing in Wyoming. But, they are kids, but this sucks. Timeline, I think best case scenario, it's 3 months. Worst case, it's 6. That is, that's what I'm going to say about it right now. I'll throw it over to Jack to start.
Yeah, I agree with Mike that the two extremes are wrong. Like the pitchfork shouldn't be out. Like I don't think anyone should be talking about cutting Charles Jagusah or anyone else. I will say that the reporting on some of our competitors since this has come out has indicated that it was not just Jagusah in Wyoming, and that I think a conversation needs to be had with everyone who is out there, because like you just got to be smarter than that. I get it. These are kids. You know, there was a ton of prefrontal cortex, or whatever it's called, in the part of your brain that doesn't develop until you're 25. On our message board, and I get that. I truly do, and I think that kid should be allowed to have fun, just like we did in college. But the fact of the matter is, like, Notre Dame is paying these guys a lot of money to be healthy enough to play football. And I think with that comes the responsibility. And I should also note that, like, it's great that they're being paid a lot of money to play football, because they should. And it was a travesty that for decades the NCAA was allowed to not pay these guys to play football. But with that now comes the responsibility of, like, all right, you're going to get paid like an NFL player. You need to take care of yourself like an NFL player. And NFL contracts have clauses prohibiting a lot of potentially dangerous, non-football activities, including ATVs and UTVs. So I think it's a learning lesson for everyone. Charles Jagusah is a great kid, one of the nicest guys you'll talk to. He'll come back better than ever, like he's done from his past 2 injuries. But it's a lesson to be learned here, I think.
You mentioned Jagusah being a great kid. Totally agree. Every single interaction we've had with him, he's been class act, A++. And I guarantee you nobody is kicking him themselves in this situation more than him.
Oh, for sure.
He's probably so angry at himself, frustrated, whatever words you want to use. But I'll say that to say this. You also don't need to kick the kid as well if you're a fan who's like all over social media. Like, why would you do this? Hey, man, he's learning his lesson. He's learned it already. Whatever. Like, he's going to have a lot of time to think about what he did. And on that note of, like, what he did, I mean, I don't blame him for stepping into the UTV as much as maybe, and I don't know the particulars of it, but, like, you got to be doing something probably outside of your means or what you should be doing or how you should be controlling that vehicle if you get into a nasty enough wreck to, like, break your arm like he did. So that's that you could kind of criticize and be like, hey, man, it's one thing to get into that thing and go, like, I don't even know how fast they go, but, like, say a controlled speed down a paved road doesn't really sound like,
for sure.
You know what I mean? That it doesn't sound like that's what's happening. And that's where Marcus Freeman probably has the conversation and just asks him straight up, like, hey, what were you doing? What were you thinking? Like a parent would, you know what I mean? Like a parent would ask you, hey, what the heck were you doing out there? So all of that aside, sometimes things happen like this, man. There's MLB players who roll their ankles stepping on home plate, and they spend weeks thinking, man, if I didn't do that, I'd be hitting more home runs and stepping on more home plates and whatnot. So that's what Jagusah is going to be thinking about during this time is, oh my gosh, I could have been playing at Miami. I could have been hosting Texas A&M. I mean, it sounds like those games are well out of the realm of possibility. I think we've reported at blueandgold.com, thanks to Mike Singer, that maybe early October, and that would be awesome to see him play regular season football for the first time. But yeah, it does stink that you're not going to see him play Notre Dame's 2 biggest games. We've said that on this show and at blueandgold.com over and over again. The season starts out with a bang, with 2 bangs, really. And not to see your best offensive lineman in those games, that's going to really, really stink.
Yeah, and a couple more thoughts on Jagusah. Like, it sucks for him. Like, he just cannot catch it. And I know this one was on some level self-inflicted, but he just cannot catch a break. He had the PCL injury that I think he had in high school for a while, and they didn't find it until much later. I think Notre Dame's doctors found it. Then, of course, the torn pec in fall camp that cost him most of the season. I think on the field, his impact is huge. Like, he raises the ceiling of what they can accomplish offensively. He makes them a lot more intimidating on offense. He's just that kind of butt kicker on the offensive line. I think the broader point, if we're going to keep talking about the accident, which we will, is the contractual thing. Like, if Notre Dame didn't have something prohibiting like ATVs or off-roading UTV, like you said, a UTV, if you're on paved road is fine. If you're off-roading it recreationally, then that's not something. Mike, are you going to say something?
I was just going to say your guys' whole point about UTVs aren't bad. It's just like, what were you doing? Yeah, if you're just driving from here down to the farm or something, it's like, yeah, sure. But if you're like doing something like racing on bumpy roads, like with, like $1 million worth of NIL. Like, I don't know who all was there, but he's the guy, all these, like, I don't know how many star players again, but it's like, you have like a chunk of Notre Dame's football roster. Like, what are you doing? Like, so I think you guys are bringing up great points. That's what I just wanted to come in.
But no, I mean, I just wanted to finish off with, like, you got to think about putting a clause into players' contracts. Like, in the NFL, they have clauses in the contracts that prohibit playing basketball recreationally. And I obviously, dangerously riding a UTV is a little farther than that.
All right, I know that I'll talk about the Jagusah thing with Tim. We'll spend a few minutes on it on Wednesday night, but otherwise, I'm kind of done with it. I wanted to move on. So let's move on. Talk about what's next for Notre Dame's offensive line. We'll leave it with Jack. I mean, let's just say it's October, whatever. But you do have Miami A&M. It's not like you play a bunch of Sunbelt schools until October. Notre Dame's got they start off hot. So what do you do? Do you go Absher? What do you think, Jack?
Absher is the logical candidate. I wouldn't lock him in by any stretch. I think Joe Rudolph might try a couple of things, because we've seen him. He's not afraid to experiment with this kind of thing in fall camp. I think you need to settle on someone sooner than later, because we know how important offensive line chemistry is. I think it is less likely than, I'm already seeing some comments, less likely than people think, that Anthony Knap has moved inside. I want to go back to something Marcus Freeman told us over the summer, that Jagusah playing right guard had more to do with finding the best five and getting the best five out there than Jagusah himself, because Jagusah could play tackle, guard, or center. He's just that good. That tells me they think a lot more of Anthony Knap as a left tackle than the casual fan does. And I would be surprised. It would take a lot. Like, it would take being like, holy crap, Will Black is Joe Alt, to move Knap inside. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Absher is someone who's paid his dues for a couple of years, played well in garbage time, got really good reviews from Joe Rudolph in spring practice. It has repped at guard for the past couple of years, so you don't need to change anyone's position. Like, if you want to try Gerby Lambert, he's only repped at tackle. You're going to have to teach him a new position. So I'd be surprised if it's not Absher, but I'm not like 100%.
I was going to start with Absher, but let me do the reverse of that. Let me start with the people that want to move Anthony Knap. A couple things on that. One, this guy played 15 games at one spot, and that was left tackle. Like, I think people need to read into that a little bit more. Like, Notre Dame did make offensive line changes that were not a result of injury last year. The big one being removing Sam Pendleton from the lineup. They had every opportunity to do that with Anthony Knap, never did, through 15 games. And if he was healthy enough to start against Ohio State, he would have. It would have been 16 games. Secondly, you're going to replace him with either Gerby Lambert, who's coming off a significant shoulder injury. I believe he had surgery in the spring. Did he not, Jack? Had surgery. And Will Black is a true freshman who did not get the benefit of playing spring ball. So he's coming in completely cold in the summer, and he's got to learn all these things on the fly. And by the way, it's 54 days until Notre Dame plays at Miami. That would be the first game of his career. It would be very Blake Fisher-esque. I will give it that. And Blake Fisher played pretty well for 2 quarters against Florida State in 2021 before, unfortunately, he got injured and we didn't see him again until the Fiesta Bowl. That's a different conversation. We don't know if Will Black can get it as well and as quickly as Blake Fisher did coming in that summer, 5 summers ago. So that, like, to move Anthony Knap, Jack, just going back to what you were saying about him, it's a bigger deal than I think a lot of people are giving that credit for. And to round all of that out, yeah, the coaches really like him. You can tell, like, the way that they assign nicknames to him, like they're calling him Napper and all this. Like, you don't. They are in deep with Anthony Knap at left tackle. So I think that they're going to leave him there. And then if that does happen, I think Sullivan Absher is by far the go-to choice to play that right guard spot because, look, man, he was snapping in spring ball. Like, that shows trust. He's big enough to play tackle, and I think if Notre Dame, like, it got to that point, yeah, maybe you see him play tackle at some point in his career. But look, right now the opening is at guard, and if they let him play center, then I guarantee you they'll let him play right guard as well. And the thing with him in the spring was, I mean, I wrote a story on it. Pretty much every outlet probably wrote the same story. Is, dude, this guy is utility man to a T. He will come in and do whatever you need. Jack, you mentioned that he's kind of waited his turn. Like, it was going to take something like this to happen for him to get in there. Lo and behold, it happened. He's probably going to get in there. And I really like him as a player. That's the last thing I'll say is, dude is huge. He's replacing Jagusah, who's also huge. Like, it's almost a seamless transition. And I get it. Jagusah probably has way higher upside, and he's the NFL draft prospect and all these things. But in a pinch, if Sullivan Absher is your guy, you can do a lot worse than that.
Yeah, and I think Absher is a guy who, like, you knew even if he wasn't going to start week 1, which now looks like he probably will, like, you knew Notre Dame would need him at some point this season because, offensive linemen get hurt. There comes a point where I should take down the Chicago sports flag behind me, and which I should do anyway because they all suck. But I should do this and replace it with a sign that says "Stop anointing highly recruited players," because like the start Will Black guy, like, guys, Will Black has not practiced once in a Notre Dame uniform, and in full pads. Like, I get it. He's a highly recruited player. Good rumblings coming out of summer ball, but like, give it a rest with these high 4-star, 5-star kids that to play right away. Like, Notre Dame's got guys who, Styles Prescott was not as highly recruited as Gerby Lambert and Will Black, and as such has not gotten like fans crying for them to play, but he got a lot of good reviews in spring practice. So like, enough with the, like, I'm not saying Will Black's not going to come in and be ready right away, but like, let's be a little more patient with these highly recruited kids.
Then you get yourself into a scenario where you're asking where's Cam Williams every single year or every single week.
I was going to say year.
Yeah. Jordan Johnson was my first recruiting class in 2020. Every single week, it felt like the media, fans asking, where's Jordan Johnson? I don't think he's playing college football anymore. If he is, he's at like a junior college or something. Like, it's.
I don't think he ever recorded a catch among
a single college
FBS schools.
Crazy. Of course, not saying that 5-star guys end up as Jordan Johnson, but you just never know. You just really never know. On July 1st, so a week from today, we added Eric Hansen and Tyler James to Blue and Gold. Very excited. You can find more about that at blueandgold.com. But Eric wrote an article headlined Beyond the Stars, 10 Notre Dame football wildcards who could raise the ceiling in 2025. Now, you guys can take this wherever you want, but when we were talking about the show, I was like, just which guy did Eric, veteran sports writer, absolutely love Eric, like, who did he write about that kind of caught your eye that you want to talk about? Jack?
There are a couple. I want to start out with Tay Johnson because I'm really curious to see what Notre Dame does with him. I don't know if there's going to be space for him, given that Luke Talich is a kind of a veteran at this point. He's played a ton on special teams, and he's generated a lot of great reviews from practice. Jalen Stroman is a veteran. He's played a ton. So typically in the past couple of years, Notre Dame's played 3 safeties in the regular rotation. I don't know if there's going to be space for Tay Johnson, but he might force them to make space. He's a guy who, like, we tabulated the votes for our BGI top 25. He didn't get any votes. I don't think Stroman did either. I think Talich got a few, but like, we really did not rate the non-Schuler safeties highly because we have no idea who's going to start. So he could very well make an impact. Really under the radar, I'm curious to see what guys like Carson Hobbs and Sean Sevillano do, because they are raw, but they have a lot of natural talent. And I'm curious to see what kind of impact they can make and what kind of leap they can make in year 2.
Tay Johnson was the first one that caught my eye. Also catching my eye, Mike, the timer not running. Because we're definitely more than 5 seconds into this thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tay Johnson, because the point that you made about the safeties, Jack, is we don't know who the heck is going to control and or own that spot. Like, I think it could be Talich. I think it could be Stroman. If neither of those guys are, like last year, you had Xavier Watson, you had a Don Schuler. Those were your top two safeties, and you knew it, and you could let them play a lot of snaps, and they played a lot of snaps. If you don't have, like Schuler was the guy that you're trying to replace, because like I think Schuler has stepped up to be this year's Xavier Watts, for example. Like he's going to be the known commodity at safety. If Stroman or Talich don't really command the need to be on the field, you're going to have to rotate and play somebody else. And guess what? Tay Johnson is probably that guy. Jadon Blair could be the other one there. So you just have so many guys in the mix that I think Tay Johnson was a really good shout by Eric in this piece. I was looking at Cam Williams, and I'm not sure if, like, Jack, we're pretty much on the same page in this because we've seen Cam Williams play in spring balls and fall camps and stuff over the last year and a half or so. I don't know if this is it. Like, this is his year to finally get there. I don't want to say finally because, again, it's only been like a year and a half. But to a larger point on the Notre Dame wide receivers, I think you have a really solid top four. Like you probably think that Malachi Fields, Jaden Greathouse, Jordan Faison are going to be your starters, and they can do a lot for you. Will Pauling is going to come in. Like, he can play slot or field, and he is going to be that next man up that gives you a lot as well. Beyond that, I mean, is it Cam Williams? Is it KK Smith? I'm looking at the receiver list right now. Elijah Burris is up there. Micah Gilbert obviously had that really strong fall camp a year ago or spring ball, and then has kind of backed off of that a little bit. So it's got to be somebody, because maybe it doesn't have to be somebody, because we've seen Notre Dame teams only have 3 or 4 receivers that do something for you, and even those guys aren't doing enough. But Jack, like, if somebody has to be that fifth, the door is open for Cam Williams. Like he can be that guy. He'd have to prove it to us, but I thought he was an interesting name on Eric's list as well.
Yeah, I think Cam's still probably a year away. Who knows? He could surprise, but like certainly much better than he looked in spring ball last year. Like I think we saw one practice worth of Cam Williams, and it's like, all right, he's definitely redshirting. Last year he was just that raw. Much better this year, but still probably a year away. Given all that, I mean that top four is gonna, like you mentioned, is going to play a ton. Like, I honestly don't know how many snaps are going to be there for 5 and 6, because Pauling is a guy who, like, I think is year 4 right now. But he's played a ton of football and is going to play a ton of snaps for Notre Dame this year. So I think he'll rotate it. I think he'll be a guy who spells Greathouse and Faison and maybe even Fields, and you move Greathouse to the boundary. He's gonna play a lot of positions for Notre Dame. But yeah, Williams could be that guy. I think you could see a guy like Logan Saldate stepping up as well. In addition to the other guys you mentioned, I just don't know how much playing time is going to be available for receivers who aren't in that top 4, barring injury, of course.
Yeah, and it's also going to have to do with how much that top 4 gives you. Like, if they're giving you all you need, there's no need then to dip in to some of the other reserves there. Somebody made a comment about Eli Raridan. Christopher, appreciate that. Ty Washington also made Eric's list of off-the-radar guys who could step up. And I did a story today on the rankings, which we'll get to, player ratings. And Ty Washington was Notre Dame's second highest rated tight end. So, like, I think that's a name that we're going to see a lot more than people ever realized when he announced that he was going to transfer to Notre Dame.
Yeah, we'll get to that after this. But, Jack, you did a whole opponent preview story for our Blue and Gold Football Preview magazine. Again, bluegoldonline.com. Please head to that website and order yours. It's like a Notre Dame football Bible for your off season, so check that out. You wrote a bunch of them. I know you at least read through and edited all of them, Jack. So just thoughts? Anyone specifically you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, obviously check out the website, check out the magazine. I want to talk about like the all opponent teams that we put together. It's a really good resource for anyone wondering like who are some of the best players Notre Dame's going to face this season. A couple guys who stand out on offense and defense. Desmond Reed, the running back from Pitt. I mean, regarding the quarterback, everyone knows who Carson Beck is. He's the best quarterback Notre Dame schedule. You don't know if you're going to get great Carson Beck or just okay Carson Beck, but he's a good player. Desmond Reed, the Pitt running back, is, I think, one of the most fun players Notre Dame's going to face. He's like 5'8", 175, lightning in a bottle. Caught 52 passes for 579 yards as a running back last year. He's someone who could give Notre Dame problems. The USC wide receivers are really good. Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane. I think those are the two best receivers Notre Dame's going to face this season. The strength of the schedule, though, I think is in some of the offensive linemen Notre Dame's going to face. Francis Mauanoa from Miami is a monster. Armaj Reed-Adams, Texas A&M, he's a possible first-rounder at guard. You got an all-SEC player from A&M, and in Trajan A&M's offensive line is going to be really good. So those are just some of the names that I noticed offensively, if you want to chime in, Tyler.
Yeah, I kind of want to take this a different direction because all of the opponent previewing that you did, I think, and this has been on our website for like 5 days now, so I think we can kind of break we can give out some secrets here and kind of reveal the work that you did in a free medium here. The opponent rankings that you did, I thought were fascinating because you put them into 5 tiers, which is pretty impressive given that there's only 12 regular season opponents. So this is from Jack Soble. You might as well give him the win on this week's competition just by way of me putting this whole segment on this. But tier 5, so we're working in reverse order here. Jack called these glorified bye weeks, and I love that. Purdue, Stanford. And I think if you saw the games from last year, you know why that these teams are in this category. And it didn't get any better for either of them in the offseason is what really hurts. Purdue fires their head coach. Stanford fires their head coach in like March, leaving no time to hire anyone that you would want to go long-term with, right, Jack? And you put this in your article. The fact that this was just actually recently brought to my attention on Golf Course like a week ago, where it just totally went over my head that the Frank Reich thing is a 1-year like rental of a head coach.
Oh yeah.
That's crazy to me. Well, not crazy, but like that's how dire it is for Stanford.
They're still getting recruits too, like good recruits. It's crazy on a rental head coach.
I mean, I guess it's working then.
Talk about a team that's in a completely different like space than Notre Dame. So those are obviously wins. And I think Notre Dame is also going to beat NC State, Boston College, Syracuse. You have the tier there, average ACC teams. I think it's a perfect moniker. And then possibly frisky, Navy, Arkansas, Pittsburgh. Do you see Notre Dame losing to any of those teams?
I mean, if they suffer a huge letdown, then sure. But Pitt intrigues me. I think there are a couple players from Pitt who can give Notre Dame problems, like Kyle Lewis, the linebacker. Kind of going on the all-opponent team on defense. Kyle Lewis, I think, is arguably the best defensive player Notre Dame will face. He plays like a rover style role. He's a smaller backer, but he's fast enough to play DB. Still, like he lets them play base personnel without taking without sacrificing much in coverage. So I like him a lot. So Pitt could give them some problems. But I don't know what their ceiling is, I guess.
Tier 2 can win if Notre Dame is not careful. Perfectly said. Boise State and USC. Obviously, I think the good thing for Notre Dame is you're getting both of those teams at home. And I thought it's been like outside of Ohio State, maybe like Marcus Freeman at home in semi-big games that Notre Dame's probably supposed to win or can win. The record's actually really good because like at this point, you're throwing away losses to Marshall and Northern Illinois and Stanford because Notre Dame was supposed to win huge in those games, and those are just letdown games. But when you see like a Boise State, a team that was in the playoff last year, or a USC, a team with a little bit of momentum, little bit of a new look, rival, obviously, I like Notre Dame in those games. So yeah, they can beat Notre Dame if Notre Dame is not careful, like you said. But yeah, I mean, I like Notre Dame in those games.
Right. You mentioned real quick. You mentioned like Boise State made the playoff last year. There's the rivalry aspect with USC. Like that's easy for Marcus Freeman to sell to his players to get them up for those games.
Absolutely. And then the legitimate threats, the last tier 1, Texas A&M and Miami. Jack, I still think it's crazy that these are the first 2 games that Notre Dame has to play. And like, if you're someone who's not an eternal optimist and you kind of just weigh this with at least a little bit of skepticism, you're probably just saying, okay, yeah, go 1-1 in those games because you can probably win the next 10. But if you go 2-0 in these games and you are the eternal optimist, holy cow, the only thing that's stopping you the rest of the way is that letdown game that I mentioned.
Right. And Notre Dame really hasn't, under Freeman so far, Notre Dame hasn't not had a letdown game in a single season.
That's scary. That's scary.
So this year is going to be a real test to see if Freeman has crossed that consistency threshold.
Yeah. All right. The EA college football playoff game, EA college football game came out for the 2026 season. We'll go to Tyler first on this. Wrote a couple articles looking at offense and then defense. Man, Notre Dame had 3 wide receivers with above an 85 overall, especially Malachi Fields with a 91, Tyler.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to be a total game changer. I'm buying into that. I know Mike and I have been a little pessimist about the wide receiver room on this show and in other places as well, but like, I think he is the
history.
Real deal.
Just because of history, not talent, which triggers Jack, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I don't think to Jack's point on this and his like credit for arguing the way that he does on this point is like Malachi Fields is someone that they haven't had. Like the 91 overall, and you look at, let's see, like he's a 91 overall, 91 speed, 87 agility, 90 acceleration, 93 awareness. Jack, you play the game. This is basically a guy that if you're controlling Notre Dame and you're not running the football, which you're going to be doing a lot of, because Jeremiah Love, by the way, is a 95 overall and has just as good, if not better. Well, he does have better numbers in a lot of those categories that I just rattled off for Fields. If you're throwing it, you look at Fields like all the time in this game, right? Like he's a very good wide receiver, not just in this video game, but in real life too. That's why he has the numbers he has.
Yeah, Fields. Eric Hansen, who obviously just joined our site, is a huge Malachi Fields guy. I think he talked to someone who compared him to Michael Floyd in terms of talent. He's a game changer. I do think. I think I like Malachi Fields and Jane Gray has like a 1 and 1B in either order. I could see Gray. I think I have Greathouse higher than him in my top 25. Just I think he's a higher ceiling talent. Or like a kind of a more versatile player. You can use him in more ways than just throw him to him on the boundary. But both of them are really good players, and the ratings reflect that. When I play the game, the first thing I try to build in my respective dynasties is the offensive line, and because that having a great offensive line, just like in real life, makes everything easier on offense. And Notre Dame has that, although they lose 88 overall. Charles Jagusah. Wagner 91, Shrouth 87, Craig 86, Knap 85. Replaced with Absher 76, but he hasn't played. That makes sense. Does reflect that Notre Dame's going to have a pretty dang good offensive line this year.
Rounding out the offensive side before we talk about some defensive guys, I thought it was pretty impressive that Notre Dame had 5 running backs who are 80 plus overall. I mentioned Love at 95, but then you have Jadarian Price 88, Aeneas Williams 81, Jabron Payne 80, like Keedron Young 80. Keedron Young probably doesn't factor into the regular plan on offense this year, and yet he's an 80 overall in the video game because I think people making this game looked at him and they were like, yeah, dude, guy's a beast. Like, I think he had the highest truck stick, or maybe Jabron Payne did. Like the bottom line is, of these Notre Dame running backs in this video game, you can't go wrong. So if you are a Keedron Young stan and you've been dying for him to get some regular action in the first year plus of his career, plug him into the video game. You're probably going to do completely fine because he's a very good player in the video game. Defensive side of the ball. Jack, I don't know if you read all the way to the bottom of the story that I posted earlier or have seen the ratings, but did you know that Jeremiah Love is not the fastest player on Notre Dame's roster in this game? And I'm telling you that right now. Who's your guess?
It's Ben Minnick, isn't it?
Ben Minnick. Wasn't that the case last year too in this game?
It might have been. Is he Mike, you covered him as a recruit. Is he really that fast?
I'm curious too.
Yeah.
His track times are pretty impressive. I'll have the correct staff look it up, but
97 speed in this video.
I do know, like,
very good last year, so I'm guessing it
they put a lot of effort into those ratings. Like I think they talked to like either coaching staffs or like an SID or someone who or from each team who knows this stuff.
10.77 in the 100, which is very fast, but
high school, right? I mean, Jeremiah Love probably
very
wasn't
good, but
running much faster than that as a high school track time, right? If he was.
Let me see if I can't find anything on J Love, but there's like football speed, and it's like J Love's had those long breakaway touchdowns, so like it makes sense.
Big thing for Notre Dame on defense in this game,
10.76 for J Love. So
we need an in-person race here. I would love to see it.
The talking spring ball is like an in-person race of Carson Hobbs and J Love. Hobbs said he won.
Yeah, I wouldn't take a whole lot of stock into the speed thing on the game, but
97, like that's crazy. Notre Dame's corners in this video game, very, very good. Leonard Moore, 93, Christian Gray, 87. Like if your guys don't get hurt and you're doing a Notre Dame dynasty, you're going to be able to defend the pass really, really well because those guys are lockdown corners in real life and in this game. So I think that was my biggest takeaway. And then Drake Bowen, 90 overall. Like he's already earned all his accolades as well.
I mentioned they do their research. I also saw Bryce Young 77, Brendan Vernon 75. So they may want to fix that.
Yeah. Tyler, Jack, what would your guys' speed ranking be in the game?
I ran a 5.31 40 in high school, so probably like a 57.
I don't know if I've ever had a recorded 40. So
we'll say that was after like a month of speed training, and before that it was like a 5.6. So if I did more speed training throughout my college years, I maybe get down to like a 5.12 or something.
Mike, you played high school ball. What was that 40?
It's like my senior probably like a 4.8. I don't know. I didn't really run one. There's no chance. There's no reason.
You're tall, Mike. So you got the long strides.
I am tall.
That was many Taco Bell gordita crunches ago.
Yeah. Now when I meet people and they're like, "Oh, did you play sports high school?" I say, "Yeah." They're like, "Oh, were you like a defensive tackle?" I'm like, "All right, cool, bro."
Yeah.
Like many pounds ago.
There was a point like last 2023 when I still had eligibility and Notre Dame might have needed me to play receiver.
Yeah. So when Sam Hartman was throwing to the freshman walk on, ended up being pretty good. Folks, if you have not done so yet, please hit the thumbs up on this video. Subscribe to the Blue and Gold YouTube channel for more content. Jack, by the way, thank you for reminding me about Jerome Bettis, that he was part of the Notre Dame legacy, NFL legacy combo thing. That was very nice of you to. Yeah, that would have been bad. Yeah, folks, hit the thumbs up if you have not done so yet. Subscribe to the Blue and Gold YouTube channel, bluegoldonline.com to pick up this Notre Dame football preview, blueandgold.com for all of our written content online, plus the loose emoji message board. I'll be live tomorrow night with Tim Hyde, so I'll see you guys then. And as always, we'll catch you next time.